And he said, Pasha the Magim didn't know the Talmud.
So they put it from another sefer.
Yeah, they put it from another sefer.
So say, what's the chiddush? What's it about?
No, he was.
He wrote, told us.
He told us Hakivesif. Okay, anyways. What? A lot of people don't know that the people also. A kitzur, anyways, in that there's a word there that it says that the Shem Hashem, the Eibusher Hashem is shoyked, v'shoymer, that Hashem kisses the words, waits for the words of Klal Yisrael to speak. It says the reason why people's tefillos are not niskabel because they don't believe in the power of the prayer. They don't believe that their tefillah can have an effect. And it quotes the same thing also. The anova of Chayvan of Kulas actually, Chorah Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because the extra level of anova. Later, the next Shabbos, Rabbi asked the Shaila question. That it says in Torah, that the Alter Rebbe explains that it says that Talmid Chacham has to have shminish meshminis. It has to have a little bit ego. So the Alter Rebbe says that this is only b'tchilas avoda, the beginning of a person's avoda. When a person starts to serve Hashem, they have to have the ego, because the ego is what gets a person up middle of the night. If you want to learn, this is also in Baal Shem. If a person wants to learn, they can tell themselves before they go to sleep that if I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to learn, I'm going to have a good coffee. Okay, so the Nefesh Habamis also wants to get up. Your body wants to get up, and then once your body's up, you can do what you have to do. This is Tchilas Avodah, the beginning of a person's work. However, Alter Rebbe explains that just like there's Teven and there's Moitz, just like this, when grain grows, first there's a lot of dirt that grows around it, and then slowly, as the grain develops, all the dirt is shed, and you have a pure grain. So Alter Rebbe says that shminish of gaiva is not needed in essence. On a higher level, you shouldn't have any gaiva. So the question is, how does this come together with the Torah of Baal Shem that a person needs gaiva? So it's interesting that the way the Rebbe explains this, he starts off by saying that it's Melech Godel v'Noira. That the Moshe of Baal Shem is that there's a great, strong, and powerful Noira, awesome king. And Noira is connected, in the spheres, is connected to Keser. And Ki Yudua, the Baal Shem Tov, is connected to Olam HaKeser, to the world of Keser. And therefore, Keser is Nois HaFachim. Keser, like we said a little before, Keser actually tolerates opposites. And that's the idea of a Keser, that it's a crown that it tolerates all parts of the body. This is like this, that there's Isnasus Be'etzem, as a person feels confident, strong in his essence, and then there's Roimus, Isnasus Ala'am, that a person feels better than other people. They're two separate things. Normally, when we think about arrogance and ego, gaiva, usually what gaiva means is that a person feels better than the other person. See, I can do this better than you. But gaiva, the kedusha, true gaiva, true isnasus, true feeling is not ala'om, it's not over somebody. It's roimus be'etzem. It's the essence of feeling elevated. And this is connected to Keser. When a person feels elevated, they can be simultaneously humble and proud at the same time. This is really what we're talking about. The avodah, what it means to be connected to the Oyer Mashiach, to the Oyer of Gula. That the Oyer of Gula is the Oyer Keser, is the world of Keser. And in the world of Keser, there can be many different kavod, many different paths that you're taking, but the nekuda, the point, is the point that transcends the kavod and allows you to be in any kavod that you want. Let's phrase it a little bit differently. A person could be davening. This is what a person is oisik now. A person is now sitting and davening. And then an hour later, after davening, they're sitting and learning. And after they sit and learn, maybe they go to work. And the way the person thinks about his life is that they're fragmented pieces. There's a part of me that davens. That's one part of me. And I connect to myself in a certain way when I daven. There's a part of me that I connect to myself when I learn. There's another part of me that maybe if I go to work, I connect to working. And these three, and multiple, there's a part of me that's a father, there's a part of me that's a son, there's a part of me that's a husband, there's a part of me that's a brother, there's a part of me that's responsible, and there's multiple parts of yourself. And you're compartmentalized. You have many different compartments of yourself. When a person lives like that, they're living a very fragmented reality. This is not Oin Wakasa. And therefore, what happens when a person lives this way, they're constantly struggling. Because they're always thinking, really, I should be learning. And when they're learning, they're saying, really, I should be home putting my children to sleep. And when they're home to sleep, they're saying, really, I should be by a shir. Because every moment, there's another thing that's pushing their attention to something else. And they're thinking, really, what I should be doing is the other thing. So you live a fragmented existence. This is the world of the struggler. This is the world of pratim. You're living in the world of details. This is one way to live, but this is golus. What is golus? Golus means things are fragmented. Simply, the idea of golus means, exile means that instead of being here, you're someplace else. And there's a separation between you and the place that you're supposed to be. And sadly, a lot of times people live this way. They live in a golus mentality. What's the Oira Gula? The Oira Geula is revealing the Aleph. Within that, it's revealing the unity or the connection between all the details. Constantly. That you're not this, that, and the other thing. Who you are, your mitzias, your existence, is that you are davuk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're connected with Hashem. What you do in this world is an expression of being connected to Hashem. Now, what do you actually physically do? Okay, so sometimes you're davening, sometimes you're learning, sometimes you're being a father, sometimes you're being a child, sometimes you're being a responsible adult. Every single moment, whatever it demands of you to be doing, that's what you're doing. So there's a way to look at your life from a way of looking at it. It's Rav, multiple, a lot of things, and there's a way to look at your life that it's called. Yeshli Rav or Yeshli Kol. Esav says Yeshli Rav. Yaakov says Yeshli Kol. What is Kol? Kol is 50. It's Amal Lecheres. It's connected to Keser. What is the Kol? Kol means the unifying aspect that relates to every single prat in your life. Not that I'm this and that and the other thing. I mentioned before, the Gemara says, Chazal tell us at the end of Chagiga, that Afilu Poishi Yisrael, even Poishi Yisrael is B'lei Ritz Kariman. Even Poishi Yisrael are filled with mitzvahs like a pomegranate. Why a pomegranate? Why are they Poishi Yisrael? If they're filled with mitzvahs, why call them a Poishi Yisrael? Imagine you say the person is very poor and he has a lot of money in the bank. Doesn't make any sense. You say he's a Poishi Yisrael, he's a sinner and he's filled with mitzvahs. Filled with mitzvahs, he's a tzaddik. So what's the answer? The answer is that his mitzvahs is B'lei mitzvahs Kariman. What is a Riman? A Riman is that every single seed is separated from the other seed. Which means there's a lot of fragmentation. He does this, that, this, the other thing. There's a lot of things that he does. If you accumulate all the things that he does, he's a tzaddik. But he's living like a Rasha. Why is it, what's the shot that he's living like a Rasha? He's living in a place of Ra. What's Ra? What's negative? Ra is Ruah. Something that's broken. He's living in a place of brokenness and fragmentation. Because he has a lot of things going on in his life. What's a person that lives with Geula? A person who lives with Geula lives with the sense that I am Lo Nivreisi Elo L'Shamash Haskoyim. I am serving Hashem. I'm connected with Hashem. That's who I am. That's my existence. That's my ontological conditioning. That's who really, on the deepest level, that's who I am. B'meila, and therefore. What is demanded of me? Every moment, something else may be demanded of me. Now I have to learn, so I learn. Now I have to daven, so I daven. But the root of a person's whole foundation of existence is that he's in a Geula state. And then every single detail that happens in your life, all the pratim that happens in a person's life, are all part of those, are all like parts of the puzzle that fit in this context. And this understanding of the Geula, of the living with wonder and pella and connectivity is a little story, a little anecdote. It's a very telling anecdote. That when the Rebbe was a little boy, he was living in Yekaterinoslav, in the Ukraine. It was the middle of the summer, and his mother took him to the sea. To go to the sea, to cool off. The Black Sea. This is near Odessa. Took him to the sea, and this is the story the way it's repeated. The person that was there repeated the story. Comes to the sea, 2-3-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, he was sitting by the sand, and it was a very hot summer day, and he was wearing a big yarmulke. What's that, a big yarmulke? Like one of these, the Svardish, looks like a Svardish Russian yarmulke. That's the story. So there was a Yid that knew Rebbe Tzachana, knew the Rebbe's family, saw them by the sea, saw the little boy playing in the sand with a big yarmulke on his head. So he came over to the Rebbe and told him, Ingela, maybe take off your yarmulke. It's so hot, he's sweating. Take off your yarmulke. You're allowed to. L'chur, take off your yarmulke. You're going to the water. And he says, "Betarnished." You're not allowed to. So he saw this very stubborn boy. So he says, Ingela, if you take off your yarmulke, it's a sign of mir. That the sin of taking off the little yarmulke, you're not allowed to wear yarmulke? It'll be on me. It'll be on my shoulders. Don't worry. So the Rebbe looked at him, his little boy, and says, "Vas achili." What's the difference? You understand? What's achiluk? You sin or I'm sitting. We're in this together. Part of this. This is achdus. This is living. We talked about the story of Makarav, another Yid. It's you. You're bringing closer a finger to the hand, and I'm not sure who's the finger, who's the hand. This is what it means to live in a state of achdus. To live dedicated to something that's higher. To be davuk in the keser. There was a Yid that once, he was a Balabatash Yid. And he once came into Yechidus, became a little bit of a Kurv to Chabad. He's from England, very proper Jew. And he's a Hager. Last name is Hager. So he came into Yechidus in the 1960s. He came to Yechidus to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked him if he's the Hager, the vision of Hagers. So he said, yeah. He asked him if he has a picture of his grandfather. said, yeah, he does have the picture. They asked him to give him the picture. He wrote his name. I don't know what he wrote. He wrote something and he put it in his drawer. And then he looked up to him and said, "Young man, the Vesos are Rabbis?" He says, "Young man, do you know what a Rebbe is?" So well, he didn't know. Should he answer the question? Not answer the question. He figured if the Rebbe was asking the question, probably he wants to say something. So he's quiet. They asked him again, "Young man, the Vesos are Rabbis? You know what a Rebbe is?" Didn't answer. Third time, "Young man, the Vesos are Rabbis?" He's quiet. The Rebbe said, "A Rebbe is." Says, the Rebbe, the first Rebbe was the Baal Shem. And the Baal Shem Tov, that's what he told him. Baal Shem Tov never went to sleep with anything that he received that day in his house. Whatever he received that day, he had to give away before he went to sleep. So the Rebbe is a person that's mafkeh chayav, someone that gives over their life to Klal Yisrael. So you can think, okay, this is a very high madrigas, very high levels, it's relevant to us. But the Nekuda, the truth of all this is that we're also part of this. That the emes, the truth of this, there's to say it another way, there was a Yid called Zalman Moshe, a great Alter Zayed of mine. Zalman Moshe used to say that Nafkenen dem Rebbe Akkurat. You have to really know, it's in Russian, Akkurat means accurate. You have to know what we're talking about. You know, there's some people in this world that enjoy kavod. Some people enjoy power. Everyone has the Yetzirah for certain things. Some people don't have Yetzirah. But generally people have some type of Yetzirah for something. Pshat is what it means to live a hecher life, a higher life, a holier life, a deeper life, is to be ready to give over your life to help another person, to help another Yid. Because the recognition is that who am I? I'm an Eved Hashem. What do I do? Okay, that's depends what the Avdus demands at this moment. I mean, there's no, my I is to serve the Eibishter. How do I serve the Eibishter? Whatever the Eibishter wants from me right now, that's how I serve the Eibishter. So L'chaim, a day like Yud Shevat, a day that's we connect to this oil that came down to this world, to live hecher, higher, edler, more refined, and to constantly think, how would I do this if in fact I actually was a tzaddik? Because most times people, you know, it's easier to live a mediocre existence. A person can say, okay, never mind about tefillah, but does it really matter that I say this thing? Does it really matter if I do this thing? The famous Rambam, that the Rambam says that a person should see the kol elam kol mishakol, Hilchos Sheva, Midbar Kedusha. A person should always see the world as shakol, like in a balance. And also, mitzvah achzi, you do one good deed, is maybe Yeshuva Atzal l'chol elam kulei. You bring redemption and revelation to the entire world. So most times when people think about this, what this means is they think like this, that 99% of your thoughts and your actions and your words actually are meaningless. But you never know, that one time that we're going to say something to a person, that's going to lift the other person, and you're going to bring, Yeshuva Atzal to the other person. What the Rambam really means is as follows. You should know that the entire world is dependent on you. Every machshava dibra ma'isa that you have, every single thought, dibra ma'isa, you're sitting in your house alone. Yeah? You're sitting in your house alone. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to have now depressing thoughts. Mela, who's it bothering? I'm going to think that I'm a shlemazel. My life is not going anywhere. I amounted to nothing. I did nothing in this world. Mela, so who's it bothering? Maybe it's bothering me. And maybe my wife. It's certainly not bothering my neighbor. So what does the Rambam say? That when a person has one machshava dibra ma'isa, maybe Yeshua tzal, which means that we would rather think, and this is what the Baal Shem teaches, this Torah told us, that's brought down, and Hashem is shomer v'shoikid, noishik, and the words of every single words of tefillah, we would rather think that we're nothing. It's easier to think that you're mediocre. You don't really matter. Do you really matter? So therefore, if I don't matter, who does it bother if I'm wasting 10 minutes of my time? Does it bother anyone? It's my time. So instead of doing something productive, I'm sitting and doing nothing now for the next 10 minutes. Who's it bothering? But if you take a belief that every single machshava dibra ma'isa that you have has an effect on the entire world, maybe Yeshua tzal olam, because you are actually the center, b'shvil nivra olam is kipshutai. And if you think that your machshava dibra ma'isa actually weighs and turns the entire world one direction, the other direction, how could you ever have a machshava zara? You can't. I'll give you a very simple example. You say it's not shy. How could I have machshava? Of course I have machshava zara. No, it's not true. Let's say you're Baal Esav, and you have to do you're closing a deal tomorrow morning, and this is the final. I don't know what you're doing. It is a final closing. You're sitting for 20 minutes with your lawyer, and you're closing on a deal. I guarantee you that if this is the deal of your life, and you're waiting your whole life for this, I guarantee you you're not going to have one machshava zara. All your machshavas are going to be about the business deal. It's not shaykh, you have another thought. You're going to start wondering and nourish thoughts? Of course not. You're so present. I need to close this deal. This is going to change my life. Your child is getting married. They're under the chuppah. I guarantee at this time you're not having machshava zaras. Why? Because this is the most important thing in the world. The problem is that we don't believe that every moment is the most important thing in the world. We believe that 90% of our time is not important. Meaningless, who cares? It's really important what I think now. But if you would really think that you can, so you say you can't have control of your machshavas? You could have control of your machshavas. The reason why you could have control, because if you actually think that you're actually a tzaddik, be'etzem, b'sharshay, yeshaysh haneshama, and your avodah is actually changing the whole world for better, for worse. So what shot that you can have a machshava zara? You're on a mission. It's not even shaykh that you should have machshava zara. You're closing the most important deal in the world. Not for you, but the entire, since the beginning of creation. Maybe Yeshua tzal olam. Elamai, what's the response to that? Really, I'm just a Beinani. I'm really a mediocre struggler. My life has very little meaning. And it doesn't really matter what my machshava dibra ma'isa are. Yes, but for certain things it does matter. Because when certain things are negaya to you, and they're really relevant to you, all of a sudden you're a tzaddik. All of a sudden you forget about a tzaddik, not in tzidkas, but all of a sudden you're a master. You know exactly what to think. You know exactly what to say. You're going on your first shidduch. I don't know. You figure out what you're going to say at the right time, in the right place. All of a sudden you know what to say, and you're not mizalz, and you don't word used cheaply, and you're not coarse. All of a sudden you know how to speak. Oh, so you know how to do that. You know how to have right machshavas. You know how to have right diburim. You know what the right thoughts. You know how to speak rightly. You know how to do the right things. So do it all the time. Do it all the time. That's gula. That's live with vekas. That's live with koil. That's live with keser. Live that way, 24/7. And if you fall, okay, pick yourself up. You're not a tzaddik gomer that you reach the state that you're. That's it. You're there. It's a stage. You move. You fall. Get back up. Catch yourself. You find yourself angry. Stop a second. Pause a second. Say, me, the tzaddik, has such thoughts. If I was closing a deal now, and the person that I'm screaming at is the deal that I have to close with, I wouldn't scream at this person. I would suck it up and listen to the person and say, okay, fine. I'm not getting angry now. Do the same thing now. You could do it. You have the yichaylos to do it. You have the potential to do it. You just don't want to do it. So you say, what's Pshat Mashiach? Open your eyes. Just have to open your eyes. Such a simple thing. It's not very simple. It's really just that simple. It's a choice. You want to make a choice? You can make a choice. You want to make a choice that you're a small person, you're a balaveras, and you have full of Yetzer Hara, and full of Machshavas Zaras, and this is who you are, and you're trying to push and maybe get some place of clarity and some place of dvekas. Or you could say no. So you just move your head from one direction to the other direction. That's shot to open our eyes. It's as easy as opening your eyes. And the haraya, you can do it. And you do it. You just don't want to do it all the time. And when you do it, the whole world opens up. Everything opens up. And even your gashmias changes. Your relationships changes. When a person comes from this place of dvekas and connection and oir and geula, everything in your life starts changing. All the struggles that you have and all the issues that you have, you speak to your children differently, you speak to your wife differently, you speak to your acquaintances differently, you speak with edelkeit and hechigkeit, and the world responds this way. And everyone starts feeling this way. We have to raise our children this way, we have to raise ourselves this way, and Be'ez Hashem will raise the world from Mashiach to Gevut. And the whole world will Akira V'yeda, L'chaim, L'chaim. Okay. What's what? Yeah. What's the shayla? You have a shayla. What's the shayla?
How do we do it?
How do we do it? Just said before. What is the most important thing you did in the last 10 years? Don't tell me. But you know what it is? Something? When you did it, you were focused? When you did it, you have control of your machshava d'remaisa, so you can do it. It's a choice. We don't believe that our lives really matter. It was much easier to say the bizarre garnished, the yenas are garnished, and no one's nothing, and everyone's nothing, and that's it. Go through life. So what does it care? Your machshavas, your dibur, what does it care? Who you're changing? What are you making? What are you doing? So you could do it, you have done it, and you should do it. Ja, was sagst du? It's a mechayev, exactly. It's a mechayev. The daven and len is pratim. It's a pratim. These are details. The tzura that we're trying to change, the tzura of the person. Who are you? The gestalt. Wer bist du? How do you identify yourself as what type of person? Wer bist du? Most times, and this is, by the way, this comes from cheder also. The b'sar garnished, the lenses, the b'sar foiler. You hear this over the cheder enough times. You actually start thinking it. You're nothing. You're samara. Stama garnished. You know, this is what you've been raised with. That. Can you imagine we can raise children, or maybe raise ourselves, to start off with a different conversation? We have to believe that the Torah Chassidus came to reveal something, not a nice Chassidish word. Chassidish word, okay. So there's a Chassidish word, and there's a Medrash, and there's a nice Gleichwerkel, and it's a Torah, it makes you feel good for 30 seconds, and it's a Gematria mixed in, and it's all given, and gave weiter. Back to the Cholm. There has to be Hazazah Pnimius. Like Konvol is Hazazah Meno. This is the has to be Hazazah. You have to move. How do you know you're alive if you're moving? If you're not moving, you're not alive. But I think the Nakuda is, I think the Mamash and Nakuda is that we'd rather be stuck. You know, by Shas Tziyas B'Tzrayim, the Eibush took us out of Mitzrayim. No, the Malach, the Shliach, this Mamash Choy D'Matzim. And yet, the Eibush wanted to be Shvek HaKorban Pesach. Bikuv Dalad Yomim, we should make a Korban Pesach, and we should make a Tzal Tzli, a whole parade of Korban Pesach. So the Medrash says because Klal Yisrael had no mitzvahs, so maybe should give us some mitzvahs. We have mitzvahs, mitzvahs Kiddush HaChodesh and Korban Pesach. What is it? What's the oimik of that? The oimik of that is, as the Alter Rebbe writes, that the Eibishter can take you out of Golus. It can physically move you from Mitzrayim to Gula, from Golus to Gula. But if you don't take yourself out of Golus, you're going to move Golus with you. He can physically move you from Golus to Gula, but from you, nafshisting, to go from Golus to Gula, you have to do the avodah. You have to do the work. If you want to be a Geula Dikid, a Mashiach Dikid, a Dvekas Dikid, he that's living with alive, you have to choose it. You have to choose it. And not choosing Pratim, because the Pratim details, it says B'Shem Baal Shem that the Baal Shem didn't like Chumras. So steht. Huh? No, it's a Pesach, yeah, but I'm saying the Baal Shem was not marked with Chumras. We have to understand what that means, and there's a word by Zeval Kitzis that once there was a problem with the Sukkah, and Sukkah Shal Avram, Sukkah Shal Baal Shem, Shal Yisrael is kosher, and Piskim Shemayim Nafel, Baal Shem, and he didn't eat the Shchita that Zeval Kitzis said. Kitzis, there was a psaza, I don't call it looseness because we can't, but let's just say the way we can understand it, there was some type of letting go of the Chumrah. Why? Because sometimes a person is so stuck in the trees that they forget that it's a forest. They forget that what's the kavanah of the mitzvah? The mitzvah is lashon tzavtzah v'chibah. The mitzvah is that we should mischaber to the Eibishter. That's the mitzvah. The Torah is the moishim Torah machzir al mutav. There's the noisna Torah. Amadars shal baruch b'Torah tchila. What's shal baruch b'Torah tchila? And the Ran writes in the Dor. Pshat means that they didn't think about the noisna Torah. Noisna Torah means lashon chayva, that Hashem is giving us a Torah. When you're learning Torah, you're davik neibishter. When you're doing the mitzvah, you're davik neibishter. When you're davening, you're davik neibishter. In the Avis you're davik neibishter. Everything that we do, the nekuda, the oir is the dveikus. That's the keser. Dveikus, to be closer to Hashem. Whether to feel or not to feel, but to be closer, to be close to Hashem. How does a boss of Adam, how does a person connect with the Eibishter? Okay, so the Eibishter gave us a gift, a matana, which is called Torah, mitzvahs, and this is the way that he says that this is the way we mischaber HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we have to remember what's the ikir. The ikir is, what's the kavan? The kavan is ischabrus. When you're davik in the Eibishter, I said, this is my mitzias. My mitzias is I'm davik in the Eibishter. And I'm davik in the Eibishter, Elokim Chaim. Everything's alive and everything is hopeful and you know, we spoke a little bit about the Gimel Ikrim. So there's a pash, the Klotz Kasha, Okay, so you say that Mashiach is a Iker because the Tachlis. But why Dafka? Why in the what's Dafka? Why is it an Iker that you don't meet? So you don't meet Tchias HaMesim. Almost like when a person says, I don't believe in Tchias HaMesim, I believe Torah Sinai, I believe the world again. I believe like Dashmul. I don't know how that works with the oh, it means I don't believe in the resurrection. The person says, I don't believe in resurrection. I believe that Mashiach will come and the people will be free and the people will live longer. But just like the Rambam writes in Hilchos Malachim, like the Rambam writes at the end of the Malachim, the Rambam doesn't introduce the idea of Tchias HaMesim. He only does that in Hilchos Tshuva. In Hilchos Malachim he doesn't do that. I believe what the Rambam basically, I read the Rambam, well, as there Hashem, Kamayim L'chasim, the world will fill Hashem's knowledge, the whole world will be service to serve Hashem. I get that. Tchias HaMesim, what have to be Tchias HaMesim? Resurrection. Why that is an Iker? The answer is because Tchias HaMesim means that there's nothing that ever ends. That's what Tchias HaMesim means. Tchias HaMesim says, no matter how the situation is, no matter how dead the situation is, there's a possibility for new life to come. Not only is a possibility for new life will come. The Arizal says when a person davens and says the second bracha, to give a little, and he mentions Machaya Mesim 3 times, you should think about 3 different types of Tchias HaMesim, 3 types of resurrections. One is Tchias HaMesim of the vegetable world, the vegetation, that every winter everything dies and then anything becomes awakened. The flowers bloom, the trees are blossoming. There's a ischachus in the bria, there's a renewal in creation. That's one form of Tchias HaMesim. One Tchias HaMesim is when there's nitzotzes or a person is stuck. In modern translation, a person is stuck in their own narishkeit and their own foolishness, and they're stuck and they can't pull themselves out. And then all of a sudden they wake up and there's a Tchias HaMesim, there's a resurrection. Now Yom speaks about Tchias HaMesim of the seichel, when the dry intelligence has a chiyus, life. And another Tchias HaMesim is the collective Tchias HaMesim when bodies will return back, when souls will return back into bodies. So what is Ata Gibor Leil Hashem, Shem Agla? What's the Gewalt of this Ata Gibor? It's saying that we believe in the possibility of future always. That Hashem is Machaya Chaim. That Hashem gives life. If you want to know if you really believe in God, if you really believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to see how you relate to life. If you see life full of chayas, full of life, and full of potential, and full of hope, and you're always hopeful, and always positive, then it shows that you're a believer in Hashem. A person says, I believe in Hashem, but I think the world is going is being self-destructive, and I don't believe in any future, and I'm mortified. Then you don't believe in Hashem. What is Hashem? Hashem is Machaya Chaim. Hashem is life. Hashem, Elokim Nikr Chaim, Torah Nikr Chaim, Mayim Nikr Chaim. Chaim is life. Pshat is when a person lives with dveikus, with Elokim Chaim, with living Hashem, with living God. Pshat is, and what it means is that every single experience in life is filled with life. You always see life. You always see hope. You always see potential. You always see the good. This means that a person is living with dveikus. Again, you're going to say, it's not, how could I, what, it doesn't work. It's not true. You see it when you want to see it. God forbid when a person is sick, or when you experience someone sick, and then you said, all of a sudden the person becomes healthy, you say, wow, it was Machaya Mesim. So you do believe in it. You believe in the possibility. You just, when it comes to yourself, you want to say, okay, I don't think there's really any hope for me. I'm just going to live out my mediocre life for the next 50, 60 years, and whatever. This is my life. But then you say every morning, you believe that the Neshama comes from Atzilus. This is your source of Neshama, your source of Neshama comes from Atzilus. Which means that you come from a place where it's all one. So you want to be davuk in Chassidus, you want to be davuk with the oir of let's say with Yud Shevat. You have to live with chayas, with oir, with chayas, nafshena nitalana, with life and animation constantly. To live, to see the Aleph. The Aleph is the Pella Abriya. The Pella Abriya is the wonder of the creation. It says about Avram Avinu that he saw a beer de lekes, And then Hitzal Balabira, the message says that then the owner of this, he saw a home on fire. And then the owner of the home, Hitzal Balabira, the owner of the home peeked out from the top window and he was able to see he saw Yesh Balabayas Albira Zur. There's someone that's owner to this home. So it's fascinating that this medrash is interpreted by two different schools. One school says Bir Delakas means he saw the world in chaos. He saw the world being destroyed. It's still Balabir. He saw that it's a massive universe. He said there's a creator. The Chassidish interpretation is Rav Bir Delakas, he saw a world on fire. Psh. So what a beautiful world. He saw the eternity in the flower. He saw infinity in the present. He saw Albira de Lekas. He was like, wow, I want to see who the buyer of this is. I want to see who the creator is. Hitzal Balabira, the owner of the home, the buyer, was revealed. Hitzis like a nitzoitzis, like a spark of the buyer was revealed to him. That oilam is a reishim HaTorah. The world is an imprint of the Torah, and the Torah is a reishim of the Likus, as the Shalach Kadosh writes. To see the world as it really is, as a tapestry of Hashem's presence in this world. To see the oir, the life, and the chayes in this world is to live with passion, is to live on fire. Eishal Atzamas. There's an Eishal Atzamas. It says by Moshe Rabbeinu. The Gemara says brachas. Brachas not big. The Gemara says that Vayichal Moshe, that Moshe davened for Klal Yisrael. Moshe prayed. So Vayichal, the Gemara says different words. Vayichal, what does it mean? Or lashon chulin, or it means lashon chayla, they're sick. And then the Gemara says that one is that Shemasa Moshe nafshel Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu gave his soul over for Klal Yisrael. And the pasuk that the Gemara says, because he says, erase me from the book that you've written. But Rashi, very interestingly, doesn't quote that pasuk. And he quotes on this, that Moshe was Masa Nafshay, that Moshe gave his life over. He says, because that Vayichal is Lashon Chalal, like a corpse, like a dead body. And Moshe gave himself over. And then the Gemara says that Moshe is not, that he had a certain disease, he became sick, and Eishal Atzamas, he had fire in his bones. Now again, you could say this is like a sickness, like you got a fever. Fire in the bones. Imagine living with fire in your bones. Exactly. It can be you're sick, you have fever, or Eishal Atzamas means you're on fire. You're on fire. When you see another Yid, you don't see another. What's the chiluk? What's the difference? You do this, I do that. We're in this together. We're part of the same. You don't. The Yerushalmi, the Durham talks about the Klal Yisrael is like a guf echad, gevia achas, like one body. Goy echad baretz. They call the goy echad like one body. It's interesting that there's a tshuva, I think, from Marshall. He says that non-Jews are called goyim, plural. Klal Yisrael is goy echad baretz, singular. So when you refer to non-Jews, you don't say goy, you say goyim. You could say goy and goyim, but that Avada. But the Likud is goy comes from the notion gevia. Gevia means a body. Goy echad means that we're one body. It's not if your left hand is hurting, you can't say, okay, my left hand is hurting. Okay, so it's only my left hand. Have you ever got a bad footing? Like you stepped on a nail? You step on a nail, all of a sudden you can't think. What does the nail have to do? So your foot is hurting. What does it do with your thoughts? Say, my nail, my foot hurts. But what is my brain? I can't think proper thoughts. Because when you're one body, you feel it. This is Eishal Atzamas, this is Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh for Klal Yisrael, Mesiras Nefesh for another Yid. The whole Nekuda, the source of everything is that I work for God. I'm not even Hashem. I quoted you a lot from this Zayda. I'll tell you one other Maisa. That on my Zayda's Matseva, B'zat Moshe, it says, Oived Hashem. He serves Hashem. He was a big Yid, he was a mamash, a rizik Yid. The Rebbe, the only chassid that the Rebbe wrote ever, tzaddik on wasn't him. Ever. He wrote tzaddik on other people, but as one of his chassidim, it was not like, he didn't speak to your chassidim that way. He didn't speak to, there was like a Chabad. The whole Moshe. Yitzchak. Rav Mendel Futterfass, when he came to Eretz Yisrael after he was in Russia for many years, I'm going to say the story the way Rav Mendel said it. He says, he got in Koisel and it's again garnished. He says he went to the Koisel, he wanted to feel something, he didn't. He went to the Moshe's cave, he says, then it was worth coming to Eretz Yisrael. Kitzer, is on Moshe, the mice is like this, that there was some type of census. The Russians were taking census, and they came to the house, and they asked every person what they did for a living. So they came to B'zal Moshe's house. They came to his house, and they asked his wife, his Rebbetzin was there, he was not there. He said, what does your husband do? He said, really, he was a shaychet. That's why he pronounced it, he was a shaychet. But the Rebbe Rashab told him that if he wants a Chassidish Hayden, which is Avram Ayar, was Zayda, he said he has to learn 5 hours or 4 hours Chassidus before he davens. So he had to learn Chassidus, then daven, then Shecht. It was a whole, this he did for many, many years. And so he came to Zolma, they told him, he said, what does your husband do? So what is he going to tell him? My husband slaughters animals. It's a shoichet, a goy, and start telling him the Russians. He said, he's like a laborer. He made up something. He came home, and she told him the story. He said, what did you say? He said, I don't know, I told him you work in a factory. He says, no, what do you mean? I'm an Oyed Hashem. I work for Hashem. He says, so what do you want I should tell the Russian communists that you work for Hashem? They'll take you out to the backyard and shoot you. He says, how could you lie on the document? They asked you, what do I do? And you have to say what I do. He says, I have to go down to the office. He said, you're going to get in big trouble. He says, no, I can't lie. Went to the office, and he said, bring me back my file. I said, why? He says, because there was a mistake in the file. My wife didn't fill it out correctly. Put back the file. It says, occupation, serving God. That's my occupation. That's what Chassidus, that's a chassid. Who are we? We're Hashem. What do we do? Whatever Hashem wants from us. If you're in the middle of learning and you're in the middle of davening, this probably happens over here, probably a lot more in other places. In the middle of davening, you're having a geshmak davening, and all of a sudden a nudnik comes and asks you for money. And it's not it's a Rahman's case. The person really need money. There's mamash a mitzvah, you have to give him. So what do you think? Really, Avosel Haftoni, your mamash yechudei law, your mamash on the highest level. What are you going to do? The nudnik needs money, and there's a mitzvah also. No? So you're going to stop doing what you really want to do, and you can do the mitzvah. That's not a terrible thought, but it's not the emes. It's not the truth. And this doesn't mean that the nudnik should come during Zaying Avosel. This is not an excuse. There should be a time that they collect tzedakah and a time that they don't. But Zol Zayin that they did collect. Pshat is that right now, not pshat is that you're right now, I'm stopping to daven, which I really want to do. I'm stopping to learn, and now I'm going to do this chesed. I'm beyond kavim. It's not a kav chesed, kav gvura. I'm not a kav. I'm not a kav person. I'm not doing this and doing that. I'm not Rav. Yesh likol. I work for the Eibishter. I'm an Eved Hashem. Was man sich jetzt? I'm multitask. What does the Eibishter want? The Eibishter wants I should daven now. I'm davening. Mitamol the Eibishter sends me an oni that needs tzedakah. So I do that. I give the person that's tzedakah with the same chayes as Avos Olam. Now again, it could be mix. It can mix a person up. It can lose a person's concentration. But the nekuda, and this is not like a dafke davening. It's an entire person's life. How do you look at your life? Who am I? What am I doing in this world? And how am I doing it? To see the Achdus Hashem, the Achdus, the Avos Yisrael, and Avos HaTorah, and Avos HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're not separate Avos. I do this, I do that, I do the other thing. If this is one of we'll call it the walkaways that we can think about, what it means to be Miskasher on Yud Shevat, the oil of the Rebbe, this is what it is. Because we don't have to talk about it now, maybe another time, and I don't know if we even could talk about it, but when the Rebbe became Rebbe, you know, there's let's say the Rebbe's name is Chaim Yitzchak Pfeffel. So it could be a person, Chaim Yitzchak. This Chaim Yitzchak acts as a Rebbe 80% of the day. 20% of the time, Chaim Yitzchak is Chaim Yitzchak. In his house, he's Chaim Yitzchak. Ein Navi B'Yirei. He's the person in his house. Yud Shevat, there was a new birth of a new person. The person that existed up until Yud Shevat, till the Rebbe was Makabel and the Messias, was one person. That was Chaim Yitzchak. That was, let's say, the Rebbe's name. That person ceased to exist. There's no longer an individual person with individual life. You couldn't separate the individual from Rebbe. And what's Rebbe, like we said before, Rebbe's Klal Yisrael. There was no individual person. An individual person was also a Rebbe, and a very good Rebbe. But there was an individual person. Every night he went home to be alone with himself. The individual person was transformed consciously. It was a choice. That the Metzias is Rebbe. B'negei l'inyonenu, what is irrelevant to us? Lefi our levels, our madregas, or our refanim, like we spoke before, we have to start thinking ourselves differently. We ourselves have to start thinking ourselves differently. We have to identify ourselves with something that's bigger, something that's higher, something that's more. Not to identify ourselves with the person that you were up until 19, 20, 18, whatever you're struggling and you're fighting and this and this. Okay, that's good. That was one person. Be born into another person. The hecher person, a person that lives hecher, a person that lives higher, more dveikus, more Avos Yisrael, more Avos HaTorah, more Avos HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to do this, all we need to do is switch. It's a small switch. You have to turn. You have to turn from one direction to the other direction. Yeah, we should connect, and we should really be able to live our highest, fullest Guladik potential. As well as? Kennst du das Asipur, as well as? Oh, ich gesagt, das darf schreiben orthodox. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is all the mice. It's a similar story, guy. Yeah, that they came in France. They came to do a census. The Rebbe was home. The Deutschen, they came, and they asked him what's his affiliation. He said Orthodox. But Orthodox can be Lahavdil. She didn't want to say that they're Yidden. She said Orthodox. And the Rebbe came back and said, what they came sense to the Nazi Machshemoni. He came back, what do you say? He said Orthodox. He said, but Orthodox is not enough to Yid. You have to say Orthodox Jew. So she said, okay, it's over, it's better. So we saved the bullet. He says, no, I have to, and he went back. He went into the Nazi Machshemoni, and he came to say that he's not Yid. So just uprising, even to 4 minutes. Yeah. There's a nice guy so Messias not Pshita. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe once said the same thing also about the Baal Shem. That if he would 1 second say that he doesn't identify with the Baal Shem Tov, and the Alter Rebbe was in prison, they didn't know that he was going to be saved. He thought that they're going to kill him. He said if he would have said that he had nothing to do with the Baal Shem, he doesn't know the Baal Shem, everything would be fine. They would let him off. The Alter Rebbe said he just didn't want even one moment to say for 1 second that he is not connected, even with the book. This is Mesiras Nefesh. Maybe Shalom V'Shem Mesiras Nefesh. Chan. Yo. Der Yatz. Weinen. Schon gesehen ungefähr.
יש יום לך?
Hang out with people that like, don't worry about that shit.